Hi, Professor Alex. My name is Isabela Vasquez. I'm a first-year student at the ANSA College. I'm majoring in Administration of Justice, and today I'll be reading my essay on Wicked and reflecting on both the writing process and what I have learned throughout the quarter. Beyond the Yellow Brick Road. In a world that rewards conformity and vilifies difference, staying true to oneself becomes a quiet act of rebellion. Wicked reframes the familiar story of us throughout the perspective of Elphaba, a young woman born with green skin and rare magical talent. His refusal to suppress her identity renders her both formidable and threatening in a society governed by appearances. After a spontaneous display of magic draws the attention of Madame Morrible, Elphaba is invited to Shiz University to hone her abilities and opportunities she believes will allow her to meet the wizard and enact meaningful change. At Shiz, however, she discovers that success depends less on merit than obedience and charm. There, she meets Glinda, a widely admired student who prizes popularity above principle, and their uneasy relationship prompts Elphaba to question the values that shape her world. As she faces exclusion, manipulation, and betrayal, she comes to understand that prescribed paths demands the erasure of her identity. Director John Chu illustrates that the Yellow Brick Road is not for everybody, but portraying Elphaba's rejection of societal norms, her resistance to corrupt systems of power, and her evolution into self-governing force of conviction and integrity. Ultimately, he contends that we must make our own road and be our own wizard and make the world that we want. Elphaba begins resisting societal expectations the moment she arrives at Shiz University. With unmistakably green skin and sharp intellect, she disrupts unspoken social order in which beauty and likability determine belonging. Her arrival is met not with curiosity but with disdain when Glinda, poised, admired, and fluent in social etiquette, blurts out, "But you're green." Elphaba meets the comments with dry wit. "I have always been green." "No, I did not eat grass as a child." Rather than shrink under scrutiny, she confronts it. Glinda responds with condescension, offering magical help despite lacking the skills to provide it. Elphaba retorts, "Offering to help someone you don't know with a skill you don't have. I'm sure everyone's duly impressed," dismantling Glinda's perception of superiority. These early exchanges expose the implicit value system in us, where deviation from beauty standards demands apology or correction. Glinda represents a perspective assumption that Elphaba must be reformed or discarded. Yet, Elphaba refuses to do either. She asserts herself without seeking approval, even if that means alienation. Her choice not to alter herself becomes her first assertion of agency, a quiet but decisive claim to her identity. While others pursue the comfortable path of acceptance and illusion, Elphaba begins carving her own, one forged by self-possession rather than submission. Having rejected conformity, Elphaba diverges further from societal expectations when she refuses to align with the wizard regime, exposing her unwillingness to legitimize corruption for personal gain. She arrives in the Emerald City hopeful, believing the wizard will help her use her gifts for good. The grandeur of his palace and his warm reception give the illusion of recognition. That illusion crumbles when the wizard reveals himself as a fraud who manipulates truth and silences dissent, particularly among animals. When Elphaba challenges him, he says, "Elphaba, when I first got here, there was discord and discontent. And back where I come from, everyone knows the best way to bring folks together is give them a really good enemy." This admission forces her to confront the reality that us is governed by illusion, not justice. The wizard operates under the assumption that truth is malleable and that authority justifies deception. Offered power and prestige, Elphaba instead tears up his spellbook and walks away, choosing exile over complicity. Her decisions mark not just defiance, but an ethical stand against a system that demands silence in exchange of reward. By rejecting the wizard, she rejects the false equation of power with virtue. In that moment, she reclaims authorship over her life, severing ties with an institution built on distortion. No longer content with quiet resistance, Elphaba embraces the power of being misunderstood, using her exile as the foundation for a new definition of strength. Cast out and branded wicked, she becomes the target of fear and misinformation, not for her actions, but for refusing to follow the script written for her. Isolated and misunderstood, she stops chasing legitimacy and begins acting from personal conviction. This evolution culminates in her iconic performance of Defying Gravity, where she declares, "I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so." Her flight marks a pivotal turning point, a literal and symbolic break from the belief that legitimacy must be granted by others. The moment dramatizes her liberation and affirms her self-determination. By soaring beyond the wizard's reach, she challenges the implicit value that institutional approval defines morality and undermines the perspective assumption that only the accepted can be good. Elphaba's rise is not about dominance, but about reclaiming her voice. In choosing truth over comfort and freedom over dependence, she becomes her own source of strength, her own wizard. Elphaba's journey in Wicked affirms John Chu's assertion that the yellow brick road is not for everybody, and that we must ultimately make our own road and be our own wizard and make the world that we want. From her earliest days at Cheese, she confronts a society that conflicts appearance with worth and obedience with godness. Her refusal to conform in the classroom, the palace, or the sky frees her to act with moral clarity. By rejecting the wizard, she turns away from a world built on illusion and chooses a path grounded in truth. Her declaration in Defying Gravity embodies a shift from outsider to self-defined agent of justice. Elphaba's decision, whether met with condemnation or fear, reflect a life led by integrity rather than compliance. Through her resistance, exile, and ultimate ascent, Chu presents a portrait of a woman who refuses to be shaped by a world that misunderstands her. The film does not offer perfection or ease, but it makes one truth unmistakably clear. Empowerment begins the moment we step off the path designed for us and start building one for our own. So I will say that my essay was organized, focused, and analytical. One of my strengths is how clearly I structure my ideas. Each paragraph has a specific purpose and falls logically into the next. I also think that my transitions are much smoother now and that analysis is thoughtful and detailed. I have been working on making my arguments precise and avoiding vague language. At the same time, I'm conscious that I still struggle with wordiness and repetitive phrasing. Sometimes I use too many words to explain a simple thing, or I restate the same idea in different ways. But throughout editing, I feel like I have gotten better identify these patterns and fixing it. This essay also shows how my critical thinking has improved. I consider that I did pay a lot of attention to scenes from Wicked and deciphered the deeper message. I also feel that I did a great job incorporating the scenes onto the essay and explaining its meaning. Overall, I believed I either earned a B+ or an A- for this essay. I think, like I said before, I stay focused on the main argument and answer the prompt. I organized my ideas clearly and supported my points with a specific evidence from the film. And my transitions and the structure overall, I think I have improved a lot and made progress on that. I know that I still need to work on the unnecessary adverbs and improving sentence variety, since sometimes it can feel a little bit repetitive. But I think overall I showed a strong effort and growth. And to be honest with you, this quarter went by pretty smooth. I think all of the assignments were balanced, not too difficult, and they were spaced out in a way that was manageable. I think watching Wicked was actually fun. Even though The Wizard of Oz was a little bit boring for me, I had to give myself breaks to watch it, but it still gave me something meaningful to write about. I think none of the assignments were particularly hard. Maybe this video, just because I'm not used to recording myself, but I really like the way that you made us take advantages of the Answers resources. Now I'm more aware of the help that can be offered. But overall, I think this class is really well designed. It challenges you in a positive way without making you feel overstimulated or overwhelmed. This is actually my second time taking a class with you, and since the beginning I have been able to tell that my skills have definitely improved. I think I write with more intention now, and I have even created like my own checklist when writing essays, which basically include what we have been practicing in class, like staying focused, avoiding vague language, the adverbs, and checking for sentence variety. I think I have started applying it to all of my writing assignments in other subjects, not just English, and it has made like a big difference. I feel more confident in the way I write, and now I can catch mistakes that I could never notice before. Know that I'm still facing some issues, especially when it comes to wordiness, but I think I have gotten better at the process of revising, because now I can tell before submitting, and overall I have grown as a student this quarter, not just in writing, but the way that I'm confident now approaching my work. Thank you. Bye.